The cabin lights were dimmed, not dark enough to sleep, not bright enough to feel awake. It was that strange in-between hour when time on a plane seemed suspended, when conversations faded into whispers and even the engines sounded distant, like a giant breathing steadily beneath everyone's feet. Most passengers were lost in their own small worlds, screens glowing, headphones on, thoughts drifting. No one paid attention to the man in seat 23A. He sat perfectly still, hands resting on his thighs, eyes forward, not closed, not wandering. He didn't look tense. He didn't look relaxed either. He looked practiced. The kind of stillness that wasn't boredom, but discipline. The kind learned over years when movement could mean death. His clothes were ordinary. Worn sneakers, faded jeans, a dark jacket zipped halfway. No insignia, no rings, no watch, nothing that told a story. That, in itself, was the story. A flight attendant passed by and smiled. He nodded once, politely, barely noticeable. The man beside him shifted in his seat, annoyed by turbulence, unaware that the calm next to him was not the calm of comfort, but the calm of someone who had lived through storms far worse than a little shaking metal tube in the sky. Far above the clouds, far beyond what any passenger could see, two shadows cut through the upper air. Sleek, silent, fast, their wings sliced the sky with authority. Inside their cockpits, pilots scanned instruments, readouts, and a shared tactical display. This wasn't a combat mission. It was routine, escort, airspace awareness. Nothing remarkable, until it was. One of the pilots frowned at his screen. A transponder code blinked. Harmless, civilian, but layered beneath it was another signal, buried deep, old, encrypted, dormant. A relic from a different life. A system no longer in use, except by those who never truly left the war behind. Check that identifier, the pilot said, his voice calm but sharpened by instinct. The second pilot ran the cross-check. His jaw tightened. He leaned closer to the display, then sat back slowly, as if the air in the cockpit had suddenly changed weight. "You seeing this?" he asked. "I'm seeing it." There was a pause. A long one. The kind that didn't come from uncertainty, but from respect. On the commercial flight below, seatbelt signs chimed softly. A child laughed. Someone dropped a plastic cup. Life continued, unaware that a name long thought retired had just resurfaced. The radio crackled. "Iron first, confirm presence." The words were not meant for passengers. Not meant for the world. They were meant for one man. In seat 23A, his eyes shifted for the first time. Not in surprise. Not in fear. In recognition. A muscle in his jaw moved slightly. That was all. The man beside him didn't hear the radio. The passengers didn't hear it. But the man in 23A did. He always heard the things others couldn't. Years of listening for whispers in chaos had trained him for that. Iron first. He hadn't heard that name spoken aloud in a long time. Not since a different sky. A different aircraft. A different version of himself. He remembered heat that felt alive. Sand that burned through gloves. The sound of rotors and distant gunfire blending into a single rhythm. He remembered being younger, faster, angrier. He remembered commands given without hesitation and carried out without question. He remembered men who followed him not because they were told to, but because they trusted him with their lives. Iron First wasn't a nickname. It was a promise. When things went wrong, when plans collapsed, when extraction was compromised and hope was thin, Iron First went in first. And last. It meant pressure, precision, relentless force applied exactly where it mattered. It also meant survival. The radio crackled again, softer now, almost reverent. Iron First, this is Viper 2. Didn't expect to see that call sign active. The man inhaled slowly. He did not reach for anything. He did not move. His reply, if it came, would not be spoken into a microphone. His days of answering calls like that were over. Or so he thought. His mind drifted back to the day he earned the name. A night operation. Bad intel. An ambush that turned clean lines into chaos. Communications down. Team pinned. He had moved through darkness like it belonged to him, clearing a path with brutal efficiency, pulling his people out one by one. When it was over, someone had laughed, shaky, relieved, and said, "You hit like an iron fist." The name stuck. The weight of it never left. The plane jolted slightly. A woman gasped. The man in 23A adjusted his posture by a fraction, bracing automatically, muscle memory responding before thought. Then stillness again. Above, the pilots waited. They weren't supposed to do this. They knew that. But some things transcended protocol. Some names didn't fade. They were passed down quietly, in simulators, in briefings, in stories told after flights. Legends not for the public, but for those who flew into danger and came back changed. "Looks like he's riding civilian now," one pilot said. "Yeah," the other replied. "Guess even legends need somewhere to sit." There was no reply from below. No confirmation. No denial. Just silence. And that was answer enough. The man closed his eyes, not to sleep, but to let the past settle back where it belonged. He had chosen this anonymity. Chosen grocery lines and quiet mornings. Chosen to be just another face in a crowd. The world didn't need Iron First anymore. It needed him to be invisible. The radio spoke one last time. "Safe skies, Iron First." Then the channel went quiet. The jets banked away, disappearing into the blue, carrying their awe and their silence with them. On the plane, nothing changed. Drinks were served. Movies resumed. The destination crept closer. When the wheels finally touched the runway hours later, applause rippled weakly through the cabin. The man in 23A stood when it was his turn, retrieved his bag, and waited patiently in the aisle. No one thanked him. No one saluted. No one knew. And that was exactly how he wanted it. As he stepped off the plane and into the terminal's bright, ordinary chaos, the name Iron First faded once more into legend. But somewhere, high above, two pilots would remember the day a silent seat carried a deadly identity, and how the sky itself seemed to pause in respect.